All right, so first of all, this is a lift consisting of 2 different days. 2 days ago and yesterday, I did a couple lifts, and I didn't have time to upload them. But that's basically what I did. It was a leg day and then a push day I did after. Um, I was talking with my friend about historical dialectical materialism, which is a bunch of big words, but you can basically sum it up with the material conditions through which you perceive history, which are and a bunch of other big words, basically just used to describe your political view and how the way you go about the world, how it affects you and your biases. And they basically like posted a meme on their Instagram story, and we started talking about it. And they asked me, "Hey, describe the material conditions through which you perceive history." And it's a lot different when like you understand like the basic subject of like, oh, I know what those big words mean, versus like, oh, this is how I actually go about the world. And it's kind of like a big subject, like how do you describe these different factors of your life, of which like how they affect you, how you view the world, and how they can cause biases and cause potential blind spots, in which you uh, are able to process information. And I think the biggest one, probably unsurprisingly, is I work in like the healthcare field, and it's the healthcare field that signs my checks, and it's the healthcare field that I've put so much time and effort, blood, sweat, and tears, literally, and into. And whenever like people talk about medical racism and other failings and shortcomings of the healthcare system, I get super defensive, like almost in a way that it's a problem. Like I'm not able to be fully rational when people are like COVID vaccine deniers. I like completely turn my brain off when people like express skepticism of the vaccine. I'm like, oh, like you must be stupid. Like you don't like the COVID vaccine. Like you think that like there's microchips or whatever. Like I like immediately turn my brain off. And I think that's probably like, that's definitely like a blind spot, myself, in the way I process, in a way like I just like communicate about healthcare to other people. It's definitely forced me to be a lot less, it just makes me not be able to communicate effectively with other people about, oh, like the benefits of going to the doctor. A lot of people are like, oh, the doctor's racist. That's why I don't go to the doctor. And I've been trying to make a conscious effort to be a little bit more, give better explanations for why you should go to the doctor and why, yes, the healthcare system is racist, but you still need to go to the doctor. And I think that I haven't been doing a really good job about that. And I really been thinking a lot about medical racism, especially like being a minority working in healthcare. I think that it is really unfortunate that the history of healthcare in the United States is just very poor. Like a lot of medical experience were done on Black people. Eugenics was a huge part of American history. There's just like a lot of history of medical racism that a lot of Black people specifically, and other minorities as well. There are medical experiences done on a lot of different minority groups, but by far the most prominent one, the one that was done the most, was on Black people. And that's why a lot of people, Black people, just do not go to the doctor, period. And there's like a lot of adverse health effects, chronic illnesses, diabetes, hypertension, super prominent in minority communities. And I think that I failed. Yeah, I would say that I failed. When it comes to explaining how important it is to still go to the doctor. And of course, there's socioeconomic factors too. Going to the doctor costs money, and there's not a whole lot of spare money for a lot of minority families. I'm talking about low-income minority families, to be specific. And I've had a little thought experiment too of thinking about how black police officers and they exist in a system where they would not be able to rise through the ranks if they didn't believe in law and order. And there's a lot of systemic racism in policing, and I'm super skeptical of policing. I'm very much I'm very critical of the police and the law in general. Very, very much so anti-authoritarian. And I think that when it comes to the medical system, that skepticism just turns off for me. I just immediately am not skeptical at all. So I just been a lot more conscious of that, and I'm trying to go about communicating better with people. About, yes, you should follow up with your primary care physician. Yes, it costs money, but you really should spend the money on getting your high blood pressure medications, on getting your annual physical, things like that. There's a huge barrier to care, but I'm trying to become better at communicating this information to patients. So that's kind of all. It was a really good thought experiment talking about it, the material conditions to which I perceive history with my friend. And I'll talk about it more, later on. But that's kind of just an introduction to these ideas that I've been having lately. And that's kind of it. There's a YouTube video, Effie Signifier, very famous YouTuber. He was talking about how black cops won't save us. And I've been thinking about wow, this is also applicable to the medical system. Black doctors won't save us either from all this medical institutional racism. And it goes much further than if we just had nicer doctors, then low-income minorities would suddenly be a lot more healthy. No, it's much more far-reaching. It has to do with socioeconomic standards. If low-income families weren't low-income, they would have better health outcomes. I don't have any data to back that up, but it kind of just follows with the logic of if you had money to go to the doctor, you would go to the doctor and spend money on all these preventative measures and spend money on education to really know why high blood pressure is bad and understand how the healthcare system works. Anyway, I'm very much rambling now at this point, but I'll actually write out these ideas a little bit better and not rant so hard next time. But that's kind of all. Bye.